Hey everybody, we are going to go through how to create a seamlessly looped animation in Maya, as well as how to create a second object that is moving in tandem with an identical animation only at a different timing or with an offset. So we're going to just kind of jump into this. I'm going to make a cube first. And we want this cube, I'm going to make it bigger, we want this cube to glide back and forth a couple of times before coming back to its original point at 0, right? But we don't want it to stop there. We want the animation to continue moving as though there was no beginning or end. We just want it to keep repeating. We don't want to see any jumps or halting in the animation. So in order to do that, there are two bits of things we need to control. The first is the point at which we place our keyframes, and the amount of frames that we have, as well as working with the graph editor, but we'll get to that in a minute. So let's start by moving this to the left 12 units. So we're going to make our origin point. I'm going to press the S key, and that makes it so that this is now a keyframe, and we're going to move this over 12 in the matter of 12 seconds, or 12 frames, or half a second. So I'm going to go to 12 here, we're going to press the S key again to set a keyframe. We're going to hold the X key, and this way we can snap the position of the cube along the x-axis instead of having to worry about moving all over the place. In this way, we just move it safely and cleanly. So we move that to -12, and then we're going to press S again, and that has set our key. Okay, so we want it to move all the way over here in a matter of 24 frames, or 1 full second. So 12 plus 24 is 36. And we're going to go to 36, we're going to press S again. Now we're going to move this again to +12. And press S once more to solve that, to set that key. And then we want to make it move back all the way across to -12, so 36 plus 24 is 60. Press S, hold X, slide to -12, press S again. Alright, so we have that key. So we're going to go over one more time. We're going to go to frame 84, and we're going to slide that over again, press S again. Okay, so this next bit is where the smooth transition starts coming in. So we want this to end back at our point of origin so that when we go back to frame 1, it's at 0, right? But the thing is, we don't want to put this at frame 96, which is 12 after 84. Because if we were to do that, this frame is going to be the same as this frame, which means for an extra frame, this position is going to hold, and it'll be subtle, but it's still going to jump a bit, and we don't want that. So in order to make this work like we want, we're going to extend the timeline to 97. We're going to put our keyframe at 97 instead. And so push S, we're going to move this back to the center at 0, press S again. Okay, and then we're going to take our time slider and we're going to put it back to 96, so that between the frames 84 and 97, it's still in transit to its origin point. And frame 1 is where the animation begins, because we're not getting past 96. So back to frame 1, and it's all good. So let's test the animation and see how it goes. See, it's going back and forth nicely, but we can see it slows down again at the point in the middle as we loop the animation. So this is where the graph editor comes in. Let's go back to frame 1. I'm going to go to Window, Animation Editors, Graph Editor. And we're going to push F to get rid of this mess. Okay, we can see nice clean lines. What we're focusing on is this curve right here. This represents our X translate. We know we're working on the X-axis. We want to isolate it so we don't see these other things. We're going to click over here on Translate X in the left menu, and those other ones disappear. Nice. Okay, so just as a quick introduction to what this is. this is, like I said, it's the X translation lake, and each of these black dots represents the keyframes that we set up before. Okay, and their position in relation to this gray line is how far on the negative or positive on the x-axis they are placed. So if we were to move this down, then we would see in the animation that it does some weird junk where it's doing some stuff. Okay, point being, we don't want that to happen, but just to demonstrate how you can affect the placement of your object in the viewport through the graph editor. Anyway, so back on subject, what we want to do is we want to make this delay in the animation go away. So the reason this is happening is you can see how this curve is sloped. It's nice and sharp here, but it tapers down and evens off. And this is slowing down the cube. And we can see at the first frame where it's going from slow back into fast, all right? So we want these to smoothly go from this into this without slowing down. So in order to do this, there are two ways to do it. Well, there's one way, but there are two methods to getting that. And the first is we click on the last key, and we'll go to tangents, and we can select linear. You see how this is now a straight line. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. We're going to select this first frame, and this is the faster way to do it, the way I like to. You see how it says linear tangents. We click on this button right here, and we see that this line has now straightened up, and this has made it so that this line will transition smoothly into that at the point of the loop. So let's test that and see how it looks. Beautiful. So we've got a smooth movement back and forth with no cuts, no jumps, and no delays. So perfect. So that is how you make your seamless animation. In more complicated animations, this might be a little tougher to pull off since you'll have these Bezier lines that you can manipulate and stuff, but the point of it is that you want this angle to match this angle and the start and end points of your animation. And that's all about that. Let's move on to making an offset animation. Alright, as you can see, we have our box. It's moving back and forth nice and smoothly without any cuts or jumps. And what we want to do next is we want to create a second box that is moving in the same way, only at a different time or with an offset. So let's stop the animation. Let's move back to frame 1. And so what we're going to do this is we're going to hit Control D while with the object selected, hit Control D. That'll duplicate the object. We're going to move it down a little bit. And so you see how here we don't have any animation. All the keyframes, there's none of that. Okay, so those don't carry over. But the cool thing is Maya's given us some pretty cool tools to make this work. So we can copy the animation from this one and transfer it over to this. So let's grab this one. We're going to go back to our graph editor. Okay, we're going to select this curve, which is the X translations, and we're going to go to Edit, Copy. Alright, and then we move this out a little bit and just grab this object. You see how it's blank? That's not a problem. Since this is just raw data, it's not object specific. So we're going to go to Edit, we're going to go to Paste. You see we have a perfectly copied curve. And so now both of them will move at the same time in synchronization. Beautiful. Okay, so what we want to do is we want this one to maybe start here instead of at the beginning point, alright? So what we need to do to make this happen is first we're going to go to our graph editor. We're going to grab this curve, and actually first what we need to do is click on View and make sure this infinity box is selected. Okay, So we can see what that did is it's created this line, this dotted line going both directions for eternity. Alright, so I'm just going to hit F to zoom back in. But what this does is it shows us what the program expects the object to do after this curve. Alright, right now it's nothing, but if we click on curves, post infinity, cycle, we can see that we now, for infinity forward, we have an infinite loop of this sine wave of ours, alright? Okay, and so in order, all we need to do now to offset this is to grab this curve. Let's move this aside a little bit. And we're going to hold shift. I'm going to grab one of our points where it looks like kind of a question mark at the cursor. We're going to drag it to the left. I'm going to drag it to the left. And see, this way we can move it however we want, and up and down, but it stays on the same axis so we don't screw anything up. So we're just going to move it a little bit further back. So this way the box has started somewhat ahead of our original box. Okay, and so let's minimize this and we can just check out our animation. We can see that it's taking care of everything. Okay, let me show you why. So the point, the point at which the animation ends, you can see, is on this red line right here, but the angle and the position is the same as it is at the beginning point. So it's just continuing the motion forever forward. And you can move this as far as you want to create this offset that you want. Okay, but we might have a problem. Say we don't want it to be, you want it to be behind instead of ahead. So what you'd do is you would go back up here to curves, click on pre-infinity, and click on cycle. And you see now behind the beginning point we have an infinity of the loop. And the principle is the same. All we have to do is grab this, hold shift, grab one of our points, and drag it forward. So now we can start like ahead, and then we can check out our animation, hit play, and now it's all taken care of for us because of the pre and post infinity. So that is how you do all that, and it's pretty simple. Maya is great like that, and if this helps, I mean, leave comments. If you have questions on more specific things, I can probably help you out a little bit, maybe make another tutorial, but I'm happy to help. So there you go. Thanks for watching.